For my assignment this month, I decided to create a project that was called My Community. My Community is a website for community members to go in and manage and organize the different communities that they are in, and to also connect to others. For this project in particular, it's only about managing the different communities that you're in. I didn't get into the detailed part about actually connecting with other people in the community just because we didn't get into too much detail with the database. So I'm going to start with the home page. The home page is very simple. It has a header and a call to action. In the header is a username password field. I'm using the tool tips for both the username and password field to tell the user, the visitor, this is where you enter in your username and password. Also, for the call to action down here, the jQuery animation that I decided to go with is it's just a simple slow transition where it zooms the image in. I just thought it looked really nice. Connect, collaborate, celebrate the wins, and then goes down to the register button. So when I click the register button, it will take the user to the register page where it asks them to sign up below. Again, we have the tooltips for all the form fields below. First name, last name, email, username, password. I'm just going to go ahead and fill those out. And when you hit submit, it will take you to the dashboard page, and I named it the admin page. On the admin page, I decided to create a tabular area using the jQuery plugin. Originally, I was just using a tab view that was custom built. This is my additional jQuery plugin for this week with the start theme that they include in their theme pack. So to add to the projects page under the My Communities, community memberships, and just list the memberships that you currently have. There's a gallery down below that would have like a basic image for each community. There again, none of this is functional. It's all just for looks. It's basically just a stock images and such. So when I click on Manage My Community Memberships, it will take me to the current communities and projects page, and this is where I can add to the projects list. And so I'm going to go ahead and demo that. Click on the Add Community button, and it'll take you to the pop-up modal. It hides everything else, so I'm going to go ahead and enter this in. So My Community will type in Winter Park, project description, park neighborhood, and the date picker will automatically come up. I'm just going to select today's date, and that will populate the field, and you can select what your membership access is, so view, edit, or you can have multiple for that matter. One would override the other. So you click add, and that would bring you back to the community projects page. For some reason, when I click add one, it is adding a ton. I'm not sure exactly why. I think it has to do something with the PHP file and the SQL database. So anyways, I'm just going to demo how the sortable feature works, so the jQuery plugin that I entered. So you can see that I can click and drag and rearrange as I like, and I can still delete. However, if I delete one of these, it'll delete all of them. So I'm going to go ahead and add another one, just for demonstration purposes. For this one, I'll say one part. Again, the date. We'll add more, and of course this list will populate. The delete button does work, and it does seem that it only deletes one at a time. Of course, the account dashboard button does work, and the sign out button does work as well. It does give you the not signed in option down on the page when you are not signed in. So I'm going to briefly go over the main.js file. I really enjoyed writing this script. I really enjoy the development side of the design much more than the visual side. So I'm just going to quickly go over this. The first part is talking about going over the login. It listens for the sign up button on the home page, and when it clicks, it runs the below function, and it automatically will prevent the default. And of course, I'm having console lines printed out to the console letting me know this is just for troubleshooting purposes. It creates a user value from the user ID field and a password value from the password ID field, taking those values, passing them into the variables, and then I call the AJAX. The AJAX is pulling from the login.php page, and let's see, it passes through the user variable, the pass variable for the password, and then on the successful connection it will run the following function. Of course, it's going to print something out to the console just to let me know that this was successful, and it does alert the visitor if there were any errors. The logout part of the JS file, it's listening for the logout ID button for, of course, the click, and then on click it prevents the button from doing the default, which would prevent the rest of the function from working properly. And it's getting the logout.php file from our deliverables, and it is going to take you back to the index page while logging the user out. The register part of the JS file, it's listening for the register button, which is going to, of course, pass all the form field values to the variables that I've created here: first name, last name, email, username, and password. And of course, the first name variable corresponds to the first name input field ID, so on and so forth. It prints all of these out just in a row to the console, just so I know that everything is working properly. You have your call to the AJAX file, which is the register.php, and it's posting to it rather than getting to it. It's going to post the first name, last name, username, email, and password variables, and then if this is all successful, it will run the following and take the user to the admin page. The welcome part of the JS file is just to check to see if a user is logged in, and if it is, it will pass through their first name into the HTML ID where it says dynamic hello, and that's just on any page that the user can be logged in, so it wouldn't necessarily apply to the home page. Next part of the JS file is going over the project list and storing the values that you enter into the modal form that pops up. It has a variable for project name, description, due date, and it's getting the values from each of the ID form fields. And it prints out to the console each one of those, and again, this is just for troubleshooting purposes. It is going to post to the new project.php file and pass through the following variables: project name, description, due date, and the status. And if it was successful, it will add the project, and if it was not, it will just show a little error, and it will take you back to the projects page, which, I mean, it's really just reloading the page at that point. The radio and buttons section of the JS was not necessarily required, but it was the only way that I could get the buttons for the status variable to actually get passed through. Otherwise, it was just taking me back and clearing the form field, so this was a little bit of extra things that I had to add just to make everything functional. And then also down below is the delete project area of the JS file. This is just calling the get projects.php URL in the deliverables, and it is going to just be looping through for the project ID, and it's going to delete the proper ID. So rather than just deleting the most recent one, and that was the problem, that was one of the challenges that you gave us. was to make sure that I could get the correct project deleted when I clicked the corresponding buttons, and it was just making sure that I was passing through the correct array number into the delete function. All the following lines are also just plain into the delete function as well. And that is the end of my JS file. Again, I really enjoyed going over the JavaScript and the jQuery. I do enjoy designing through the CSS and HTML markup, but again, I think by the end of my full sail career, I'm going to be much more inclined to working on the development side than the design side. It's much more black and white, and that's kind of how I like things. But anyways, it was a pleasure going through this class. I'm looking forward to my web standards project coming up next month. Thank you.